Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. Um, this is going to be a review for Chasing Dallas, Season 1, Episode 4, called Address the Mess. Um, so, um, of course, we start with scenes from the last episode where Tony and B. King were getting into an altercation while Reese G and Charles were having their discussion about what was said between the two of them. Now, at the top of the episode, which will become apparent by midway, almost to the end of the episode, become apparent why. But I noticed that Tony was not in their Atlanta Housewives opening. Which I thought was weird because Tony seems to be the topic of a lot of discussion for him not to be in the opening. So cut to Markel's a place, well, wherever the area is that at Markel's apartment, the common area where they're having this game night. Where Tony and B. King are having their confrontation, which I believe that B. King handled it really classily. That ain't even a word. It is now. Okay. He was like, don't make assumptions. If you have questions, come to me and ask questions. Address me as a man. Because don't just make assumptions and accusations. I'm a man, you a man. Address me as such. And I will hand it to Tony G. He did come back now to where they could actually have an actual discussion about what was happening while Reese G was trying to mediate the confrontation, and so that we can, even though he's the reason there was a confrontation, because if he had just kept them bones and then not brought that back to Tony G, then none of this would be happening. I wanted to know where B. King got them frames from that he was wearing on game night. And B. King, if you ever see this video, if you could put that information in the comments, I would greatly appreciate it. Also, I was kind of distracted while they were arguing because the highlight that Tony P was using was blinding. And if you see this, you might want to put that in the comments as well. Thank you so much. I had just a couple. I just be off kilter. I don't even be, my questions don't even be about what's happening, because I'm like, my statements is like, B. King's skin is flawless, and it absolutely is beautiful. All of that chocolatey skin. Now, Tony did say he expects his friends not to speak badly of him when he is not present, and that is absolutely correct. If you say you're my friend, if anything, I expect you to take up for me. I expect, because I'm not going to allow anybody to talk crazy about you in my presence. I accept the same reciprocation if if you my friend, I expect the same. Nobody should be able to be like, well, Ebony is da 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 da, and you just be like, well, all right, no, because I won't allow that for you. During all the altercations, I would just like to say I would be the Aubrey who's lit and taking selfies and just completely unbothered by what's happening. Now, I done cut all the tea, but I'm not a part of any of it, so Um, Now, let's go back to Reese G and Charles. Now, last week, I did say that Charles was not Charles, but when Charles said that Reese G was into him, I was really like, are you sure, honey, that you're just not a little inflated? It seems like Reese G is just your good girl, honey. You was dating apparently a stunt queen, and he was trying to be a good girlfriend and be like, check yourself before you wreck yourself type of situation. Until Reese G pulled out his phone during the game night and had some Snapchats where he was in the bathroom, it looks like, backpedaling and pussy bopping and things, and it was a recording, so he turned it around and showed Charles and was like, this is what you need to be coming home to every night. Is it really? Okay. Well, all right then. And I was like, oh, well, maybe there is some validity to what Charles said about Reese G liking him and it not going his way. And I could absolutely see, because Reese G seems like a planner to me, to see him plant a seed of discord in that relationship, to watch it blow up just to pick up the pieces on Charles and woo woo woo, that type of thing. So this is, I don't think, what Reese G was expecting is for Charles to take the bone that Reese G bought him about the boo back to the boo. Because Reese G says all of a sudden, like, he got all these messages from somebody. I don't know if it was Charles's ex or the ex of Charles's ex, but somebody was ready. No, what you say it? What was it? And he was like, oh no, I don't do that. I'm not messy. Reese G, I love you. Let's have some real talk. If you think you are not messy, that is not an accurate self-assessment, and you need to reevaluate. Because you are messy with a capital M-E-S-S-Y. All the letters are capital. Because you're a big mess. All the mess this season. Either, I understand you're executive producer on the show, but all the mess. You are either first-hand involved. Well, you get all the mess. All of it got something to do with you and what you said to someone else. It just is what it is. It makes for good watching, but I need you to have an accurate self-assessment of yourself. Because if you think you're not messy, that's not accurate. And then I put, meanwhile, Aubrey is getting his selfie life. He is literally taking selfies. People are arguing. He's like, let me get my good angle. He's doing the most. It's so cute. Okay. So he said, Reese G says that, well, now he's mad. Because I'm assuming he realizes now that whatever's going on with Charles is just not going to be what he would like it to be. So now Charles is a punk pussy ass hoe. He is a yuck mouth and unchristian like. I guess because he didn't go along with the shenanigans. I guess all of that. So. Now, I don't understand why unless Reese G said, I'm not one to gossip, so you didn't hear this from me, and preface that in the conversation with Charles about the information. She's like, I'm about to divulge this information to you. However, keep this under your hat. I just want you to have some information. I don't know if that's what happened. I don't know if that was what was said before he gave Charles this information about the boo, but you cannot be surprised if this new friend of yours, you give some information about the person that he is in close relationship with, and you give them some information why you thought it wasn't going to get back. I'm sorry, it's early. Why did you think that information? I sound like Charles. Jesus, my voice is so deep. Why you thought that information wasn't going to get back, I don't know. I just don't know. It doesn't even make any sense. You should have expected that information to get back and been prepared when it came back. Slip it on your pimping, boo. So they actually, everything calms down and they start to play a game. I guess it's a questions game. There's a bunch of questions in a cup, and everybody's going around. You pull out the question and you answer, and then I guess you give a chance for everybody else to answer as well. Reese G pulls first, and his question is, who would you have a threesome in? And the first person that he picks is Charles. Meanwhile, as soon as that is said, Charles is like, Return to Sender, I don't want that. Which I thought that whole facial expression was a little extra and necessary. But whatever. Oh, and the second person he picked was B King, and there was a joke was made. Well, that might not be a no. Because he be down with things of that nature. So we then go to Premier, who is tuning up to sing Achy Breaky Heart with this shirt with the fringe on it. And he gets the question is, have you ever been homeless? And his answer, of course, was no. Fortunately, in his life, he has always had support of his family and loved ones, so that has never been his testimony. Markel also answered the question and said no, that hasn't been his testimony as well. He's never been homeless. Reese G has answered, and he has been homeless. He said a couple of times. Apparently, his father passed away, and his stepmother was abusive to him. And he couldn't live with his mother because she, unfortunately, was dealing with addiction. And which led him to being in a foster home at the age of 16. And rather than put up with the abuse that the foster situation was cultivating, he was homeless. And here's where I become messy. Lord Jesus, my notes. While Reese G was talking, now in his confessionals, his face is beat for Jehovah Jireh. However, the lighting at Markel's party on that contour was severe. So I was like, yikes, because you could clearly see the line of demarcation of where the contour and then where the highlight was. You could clearly see it, like it wasn't, like it was sitting on his skin. I don't know what was going on there. So we get to Tony Price, who admits in his confessional that he has been homeless more than once. Um, he admitted to, giving up his apartment so he could get a car, which I didn't. But I understand you young and you make. He said he had been without a car for a year and a half. And I've been without a car for several months because mine died and went on to car heaven, and I'm saving up to buy another one. But at no point am I willing to be homeless to have a car. It just doesn't. That doesn't compute for me. He also admitted to having an addiction to methamphetamines. I do not know if he said he had been recovering from his addiction for a year and a half, and that he had had a couple of relapses. I do not know if at the time of the filming that he was inactive in his addiction, but it does say that would be the last confessional for him, as he chose to go into rehab, which my prayers go to him. I know addiction is a terrible thing, and so I am praying that he comes out on the other side of it okay. And so they didn't take a break and give a phone number if you're homeless, and they gave a resource in Houston. And so I thought, far be it from me. So if you are dealing with homelessness in the Charlotte, North Carolina area, a resource that you can contact is Charlotte Family Housing. Their number is 704-335-5488. That's 704-335-5488. And I will leave the phone number in the description box. We then, because I've been homeless and I have used that resource and it is amazing. So here's that. Markel's, they then go to Markel's house. Reese G comes over to see Markel. And I want to say this. Markel actually has written, I think, 3 books, and I believe 2 of them are on Amazon. I'm going to try and purchase them today for my Kindle. His name is Markel Logan, if you're going to look him up on Amazon, and the book should come right up. I think one was something about I was on my knees, and I can't remember the name of the other one. So again, I guess he came over to Tony's house to rehash what happened at the party. And he states that Tony told him that he turned the little girl orange on purpose. Why are we still talking about this little girl being orange, though? It's okay. So, and Reese G then states that Tony is no longer a friend. He's an associate. I don't know what happened. There is no mention of what happened. Clearly, we must have missed something in the conversation that caused Reese G to say that Tony is now an associate and not a friend. I don't know, because what happened at the card party what we saw wouldn't lead me to believe that Reese G would just throw Tony away. Now, okay, and now here's my thing. So let's rewind back to Reese G's Easter egg situation. And when Tony showed up and he had that conversation and stated that, and he was going off about how B. King texted him the day before to say that he could not come to the event because he had to work. He had to go to work. And so Reese was like, how you supposed to be a boss and you got a 9 to 5 and blah 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 and whoop de whoop, and just shading the hell out of B. King because he had to go to work. At least that's how it was edited. But then when B. King and King Kane sit down and have a conversation, he says that he texted Reese a week before. He was being considerate, and a week before the situation, he texted him and said, I'm not going to be able to make your event because I have to work. And so we're going to bring some things that didn't happen in the episode. Reese G and Markel went live on Instagram. So something that was said during the live is that Reese G has a 9 to 5. And so does Markel. Well, Markel said he got a 6:30 to 3. But I digress. He got a job where he go and punch a clock every day. How are you going to shade the next man for having a 9 to 5 when you yourself have a 9 to 5? And there's absolutely nothing wrong. Like, we all have to have, like, everybody can't be an entrepreneur. Some people just don't have the desire to be an entrepreneur. Not saying that B. King doesn't have that desire, but you know, we live in a real world, and until if you're going to be an entrepreneur, and do some things, not only does that require money, startup money to do that, but also maintaining your life while you chase this dream requires money. And so until whatever your dream is can start to pay for and cover your whole life and existence and your rent and your bills, then yes, you may have a 9 to 5 to supplement until you get to popping and you don't have to do that anymore. And Reese G knows this because he has a 9 to 5. So why would you get on here and shade this child because he couldn't come to this particular event because he had to work? I don't get it. If it was just something cute to say for the show, then that's one thing. And you don't really feel that way, that is one completely different thing. But it just doesn't look. It looks messy and hypocritical. Is what it looks like. So B. King and King Kane are having a conversation about what happened and where he's been and what's been going on with him. And King Kane said he had really lost focus and he's trying to get it back. Somebody's texting. It's too early in the morning. Oh, it's my sister. Okay, I'll get back with her in a second. And so B. King gives King Kane some very, very sage advice, which is basically you can't pour out of an empty cup. And he is really directing him to walk into the spirit of overflow. So in order for you to pour out into other people, your cup has to be full, because you can't pour out of an empty cup. If you don't have anything, if you're spent and you have done everything that you can and your cup is empty, you can then in turn can't help anyone else because you don't have anything else to give. You know what I'm saying? It's very simple. You can't pour. There's nothing in the cup. What you doing? King K said he apologized for the confrontation with Tony B. He said he hadn't been able to apologize directly to Tony, but he did in a confessional. And so we get through with that scene, and I just have a random thought. Where's Wuda Lee and his booty? How y'all gonna show him to us in the beginning? We ain't seen that baby in 3 episodes. Where's he? I know he out somewhere at a park randomly doing some squats, getting his life together. I mean, you can't put he walked past. Why is he not in any of the events? He can't come to nothing? Inquiring minds want to know. We miss him. Come back, Will. Come back. So, that is how the episode ended. There were scenes from the next episode where it looks like it may get popping. In the next episode, there may be another altercation. It looks like it might turn physical. We'll see what happens. I also found another resource. If you're in the Charlotte, North Carolina area and you're having an issue with addiction, you can call the National Addiction number. It's 1-800-304-2219. That's 1-800-304-2219. And they can get you in touch with some rehab facilities and some resources to assist you with that as well. And I will leave that number in the description box as well. That is all I have for this morning. I like the fact that even with all the drama and the messiness, there are some real subjects being touched on in this show, and they were actually giving actual resources for people to get help. And I like that a lot. Apparently some things is happening that's not being recorded, that's happening like in real life, that is affecting what's I guess the show is affecting what's happening in real life, or real life is happening. I don't know. And I want to know because I'm nosy, and I like this show, and I like the people on it. So I'm going to do some more investigations of Google. I'm going to have to follow some more people on IG, get some more notifications, see if I can figure out what's happening. And with that said, if all hearts and minds are clear, I will see you in the next one. Love you guys. Peace.